My view is that an invasion is probably less than 50-50, that the deployment of these troops is a negotiating tactic to try to get concessions from NATO, and especially Biden. Putin would like to renegotiate NATO's mandate to make it weaker, especially on the Russian border.
Right.
And I think that's where Putin is right now.
How big a threat is Russia right now to NATO and the United States?
Well, I mean, in theory, NATO could do an enormous amount of damage. I'm sorry, Russia could do an enormous amount of damage to NATO, but I don't think that's in Putin's interest right now. I think Putin is trying to extract concessions, to use his hold over Europe in terms of energy to advance his economy, his security interests, and he's trying to advance himself at home. The problem is that Russia really is a declining power. It has real problems with a declining population. Its economy is based on energy. Its manufacturing base is in bad shape. So, I mean, Putin has his own problems. Getting into a major war is not something that would be in Putin's interest.
Yeah, the U.S., China, and Russia all share that in common, an aging population. I want to show you a tweet that the president of Ukraine put up. He spoke with President Joe Biden and tweeted out, after that phone call, quote, "The first international talk of the year with the president proves the special nature of our relations. Joint actions of Ukraine and the U.S. and partners in keeping peace in Europe, preventing further escalation, reforms were discussed. We appreciate the unwavering support of Ukraine." Why is it that the United States, he paints the United States first here before talking about NATO. Why does it always fall to the U.S. to defend the sovereignty of these faraway nations?
I think that's a question we've been asking a lot lately. We were asking throughout the Trump administration. President Trump did not want us to be the world policeman. He did not want us to be getting into unnecessary wars. And when we hear Joe Biden say that he's going to respond decisively to a Russian attack on Ukraine, what does that mean? We're not going to send in troops. We're not going to use air power. We're not going to use our Navy. And we shouldn't do any of those things. We're going to sanction Russia. That's what we did in 2008 when it invaded Georgia. That's what we did in 2014 when it invaded Ukraine. I don't think Putin's worried about U.S. sanctions.
All right, Fred, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out over the next several weeks. Come back and see us. Happy New Year to you. Great to see you. Thanks, Fred.
Happy New Year. Thanks.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.